Okay. So while Amy is getting ready for the slideshow, I'll go ahead and start by just introducing myself and just sharing a little bit about me. So my name is Roxanne Petersen. I am the president and CEO of NAMI Central Iowa. I have been working in the mental health, behavioral health field, if you will, under substance abuse, mental health, prevention for it'll be going on 24 years. It's hard to believe that I've been doing this that long. Obviously, I'm passionate, very passionate about mental health and behavioral health systems. Um, I have 4 children, 4 adult children, ages, actually, today's my oldest son's birthday. So he is 33. He's an educator and he's married and lives out in Clarksville, Tennessee. Um, I have a daughter who actually just got accepted into grad school, is going on to be a nurse practitioner. So super excited for her. She is also married and has 2 children. And then my third daughter actually works for NAMI Central Iowa and also has a little girl who's 18 months old. And then my youngest son, Peyton, is 21. And he chose not to go to college, which is completely fine. He brags about it every time we're all together as a family because he's not in debt and everybody else is, he says. So that's kind of the ongoing joke. And he has no children. And some of his favorite things are just hanging out with his friends. He works full time, working with his dad. So, yeah, so that's just a little bit about me. And before we get started, I do want to share with you just how I came about NAMI Central Iowa. So, right around COVID, I founded a ministry called Atlas of Central Iowa. Atlas stands for Attaining Truth, Love, and Self Control. And we had an office in Iowa Falls, and we had a therapist in our office. And then a friend of mine who works for the school, her husband is the principal. She called me up one day and said, "Hey, I'm involved with this organization called NAMI, and they're needing facilitators for In Your Own Voice and several other programs." And I was like, "Oh, okay, you know." And I thought, well, I got enough to do right now. And but anyway, what ended up happening is that we built a partnership because their mission was really just went right in with the Atlas mission, NAMI's mission together. And so we extended an invite to them to come in and do their groups and do their classes and extend that to some of our clientele that we had coming through the office that were in need. And so it was a great partnership. It worked out really, really well. And then it wasn't long after that I was asked to serve on the board, and I moved into as I was a member at large, and then I moved into the vice president, and then when our Marty Chitty, who was our former board president, stepped off, I went into that role temporarily. And then we realized we needed, as my former predecessor had stepped out, we needed someone to step in, and the board had voted me in to become the president and CEO. So that is my small journey of how I got here. So overall, I've been employed going on 3 years next month. And then I've been involved for a total of 5, including serving on the board. So that's just a little bit about me. So we'll go ahead and just dive right on in here. So as you can see, we have up the slide that we serve 14 counties in what we used to call Central Iowa. I'm not sure what we're going to call it yet. We just switched. I don't know where you guys are at on this, but with the new statewide plan, we are now a districts. So what this means is that from the district perspective, we've landed in 4 different districts. And so we're still working on what this means for us. It's very, very new. That just went live July 1. Okay, so next slide. So why we exist. Many of you may already know, but the National Alliance on Mental Illness is the largest, nation's largest grassroots organization. And like I shared just previously, we do cover 14 counties in Iowa. We have a national office, which is out of Virginia, and our state office right now resides in Polk County and Des Moines. And I want to also share how that kind of works. So National, if you will, is kind of obviously the mother, if you will, of our organization. And then all across the U.S., we have state offices and affiliates. Depending on the geographical areas, some states, if they're larger, might have maybe even three state offices. Um, and so we do not receive funding, any direct funding from our state offices. There are typically some grants that come out from our national office that all of us affiliates can apply for. So if you, as you guess, it's pretty competitive, right? Because you have hundreds, over 600 affiliates applying for the same grant. But NAMI Central Iowa has actually been awarded several grants over the course of the year since we have started in Ames. So um, with that, we are here to lead, our grassroots and legislative advocacy efforts, provide the mental health education, and we work with Health and Human Services, probation officers, state institutions, Department of Corrections, corporate entities, and anyone, honestly, ministries that are interested in just learning about mental health, who want to be a part of it in any aspect. Uh, Next slide. So I was really super excited to share this picture with you all today. I've been looking for a picture, and so this was from Sunday. So this was from our second annual NAMI walk. These were not all the folks that were in attendance, but it was when they started just coming in. And so when we talk about impact, and how this all got started. It started back in Madison, Wisconsin, with a couple of moms that were really frustrated with the system. There wasn't a lot of information out there, not a lot of resources. They had children that had suffered from a schizophrenia diagnosis, and so back then it was like, what do we do? How are we going to support our kids? And so they kind of were the trailblazers of NAMI Central Iowa, and they are how this all got started. And so today, obviously, NAMI is the largest grassroots mental health organization. And we, with the vision of a world where all people affected by mental illness live healthy and fulfilling lives, and supporting by our community that cares. And so if you look up there, I do believe in the background, way in the background, our new board president was speaking. And I loved this because it was all walks of life, all ages, all ethnicities. I mean, it was truly incredible. It was beautiful. And they hung out with us the whole day, even though it was 90 some degrees. And so yeah, so it was a great day. Next slide, please. So here, actually, is my oldest daughter with my youngest granddaughter. From the walk on a Sunday. And so we believe that unity means community, right? So with that, our inspiration is that NAMI Central Iowa calls on all the communities that we serve and beyond, so that we can come together as what we call the NAMI family, so that we can serve all Iowans and that we can increase the awareness. The statistics are staggering here in 2025. And, we still operate off of old data, but we have a real serious problem just in Iowa and across the nation when it comes to our youth mental health and our adult mental health. And we're even starting to embark on mental health of retired and elderly folks as well. So, and as you know, data comes out 2 or 3 years later. So we're going to move into the next slide and start talking about some of that data. Oh, excuse me, I skipped a slide. Testimony as to why we need NAMI programs. So here is actually my son-in-law and my grandson who attended the walk on Sunday. And although they don't have a current testimony, um, you know, my grandson is exhibiting some signs that are a little concerning. Right. And he's just a little guy and he's a little sweetie. And so one of the things that's really difficult is when you have young kids or like 4, 5 range, doctors don't start to really look at things, they just kind of monitor it. and kind of see how things are going and whatnot. But yeah, I wanted to show that because I think it's important that we talk about that and how important it is for that early intervention and just that awareness so that we know what we're looking for, right? One of the things that's a blessing is that, like I said, my daughter is a nurse. She's going on to be a nurse practitioner, and she actually worked in behavioral health for 5 years as a correctional nurse. And so she's seen firsthand, what's happening to those that are affected by mental illness and how, they are going to jail versus, a more controlled environment if that's what they needed to help reduce the symptoms. Instead, they're being put in handcuffs. And so below this, I just want to share with you a little note that Beth and John had wrote us, who had received had done our 8-week class. And so it states here that I don't know how I would have navigated my son's illness without the family to family class that NAMI Central Lab provided me and my husband. We thank you and are forever grateful. We have so many of these statements, right? So many. We get so many phone calls with families that don't know what to do. And, when I think about young ones like my little grandson here, Carson, up till the age of 18, parents have a little bit more influence, if you will, right, in the care that they can get for their children. But when we start talking about our 18 and older, that's when it becomes a little bit more difficult because now they're adults. Parents don't have as much influence, right? And it's really, really hard to watch your child struggle. And we have a very broken system. I think that's, it's very safe to say our system is not designed the way that we need it to be able to really fully support our adult children and our adult loved ones. Um, so next slide, please. So here we are with some of the statistics. So every 43 seconds, a life is lost worldwide to suicide. And suicide is the second leading cause of death among young people aged 12 to 17. Um, our men account for 75 per 80% of deaths by suicide. The Hispanic suicide rate has risen significantly over the last decade. And our LGBTQ plus young people, 39% of those people seriously considered attempting suicide just in this past year. And in 2022 was a third leading cause of death for our Black Americans ages 10 to 24. And the rates among our veterans was 57.3% higher than any non-veteran. And I know that number is just rising. That number continues to rise. And in 2021, suicide was leading cause amongst the AANHPI individuals from 1 to 19. And so that is like our Hawaiian, our Asian population. Next slide, please. And then the last statistic we have here is that the American Indian and Alaska Native youth, age 10 to 24, have the highest rate of suicide of all the demographic groups. We don't talk about that enough, right? We don't talk about the different ethnicities and backgrounds. And I think it's something we need to really talk about a lot more. I am part Hispanic, and I will tell you that I can speak from that lens that it's just not something we talk about, right? And honestly, it's something that we as a culture, right, believe that we just kind of pick ourselves up by the bootstraps, right? I mean, it happened, we deal with it, and we move on. And I think that's a consensus across the board in some cultures, right? Because it's just not something you talk about. I'm 50 years old, and I will tell you, I don't ever remember hearing about suicide growing up until my uncle took his life, and I was 20 years old. It was the first time I ever heard about it. And we know it's been going on for centuries, right? Like this has been going on, but nobody talked. Nobody knew that those things were happening. And so these statistics just show how important it is that we have got to continue to elevate voices. We've got to continue to talk so that more people will stand up and stand out so they can get help, right? And they can find supports that fit their needs. Next slide, please. So I always want to share ways that you can get involved. A lot of folks, I hear this a lot, in different meetings, presentations that I do. It's just like, well, I don't know. I can't do that kind of work. I can't walk along somebody, that is having all of those barriers and issues. So what can I do? And so I always tell people that I believe that we all have gifts, right? Some have the gift to write, some have a gift to sing, some have a gift to talk. I think that we have those God-given gifts that are given to us. And so one of the ways I always talk about now that we are in our second year of doing this is that NAMI walk. If there is anything that, that is just so powerful and empowering, is attending a walk where people are coming in large numbers, don't know each other, build these connections. And at the end, they're hugging and they're lingering around and they're talking, and some of them don't want to leave, right? Because they're experiencing their own stuff. In fact, we just had that at our walk on Sunday. We had a young lady that just didn't want to leave, right? So these walks aren't just about raising money. These walks are really about connecting with people, and really feeling like they belong somewhere, because that's what happens as we start losing hope, and those suicidal ideations start kicking in, right? We start feeling hopeless, and we're not well. And so we need each other. We need people. Um, so the NAMI walk is a really good way to get involved, becoming a volunteer, a speaker. Maybe you're really good at making signs or, anything like that, or helping set up, tear down. There's just so many ways to get involved. Um, and then becoming a NAMI educator. We are definitely in need of more NAMI educators all across our 14 counties. I would say, if anything, the NAMI facilitator and the support group facilitator, those two areas for volunteers are so low. And it's so crucial for our organization because we are built on a model of volunteers, right? For people with lived experience to push out these programs in the areas that they live in. And so we always encourage people to become an educator or to become a support group facilitator. And with that, we do ask for a year commitment, just because these classes, can go on for 8 weeks. Um, and then we also have our support groups that we would like to offer at least once a week if we had enough facilitators to do so. Joining a committee, obviously, we have several committees that we need folks to join and to be a part of. And next year, I will tell you, after the assessing this block, we're going to need to start building a committee, um, and whatnot, because it is going to continue to grow, which is beautiful. But now we got to put some more strategic planning in place, right? With that, NAMI advocate. A NAMI advocate is such a broad area. So one of the ways that we can advocate for folks is just by coming down each year to our NAMI Day on the Hill, meeting our legislatures, getting to know who they are, um, and working, educating them, telling them a story, and whatnot. I spent a lot of time down there this last year, a lot of time, especially with this new statewide plan. I've rubbed elbows with a lot of those legislators on both sides, and they listened. They did listen, right? Um, Also, this year, I did go to Washington, D.C., and so I sat with some of our federal leaders, encouraging them to, expand dollars to mental health, educating them on peer support services, what that means for people, how it can be life-saving, how it can save the state money, how it can save the hospitals from collapsing from this mental health crisis that we're in. Just so many areas. I wish I could tell you that it went great. We have a lot of work to do on the federal level. We have a lot of work to do. And with all due respect to all the leaders and all the, endless hours that they put in, um, a lot of our leaders just don't understand the boots on the ground aspect, right? They don't understand mental health. They don't really, maybe have never had a member in their family or a loved one yet. I say yet, that has taken their life or experienced a moment of psychosis, right? And so it's our job as advocates to educate them and to share our stories with them. They typically listen a little louder when when you start talking from the heart and we start sharing from your own experiences. So, um, and then obviously becoming a board member. Right now, we are looking for members that are part of the police academy, that are a lawyer, and we're also looking for someone from the behavioral health. And we would actually love to have somebody from a ministry on our board, because a lot of folks, even though folks think people don't seek out the church, people are still seeking out the church, right? And so we need someone, from a church that's sharing with us what's going on in the church. What are you seeing? What are you hearing across the board with other churches and partners, in the communities that we serve? Because there's room for all of us. There's room for all of us to work together and to create ways that we can better serve people in our communities. Um, so the other ways you can get involved, some folks are like, "Oh, I can't do any of that." Right, is to be able to sponsor our walk. That's always a gift. It really is one of our largest fundraisers that we have each year. And so that just continues to help us be able to push out all of our programming and our education and doing our advocacy work. And then we have a new platform, which is really neat. It's NAMI Do It Your Way. So it's a DIY fundraising platform. We actually have an app and everything. It's the coolest thing. And so for those out there that are super creative, that just want to give back, but don't want to, be a facilitator or join a committee or do any of those things, we do have this platform now where folks can uh, fundraise. So NAMI doesn't really do anything. It's the individual. So, John, if you want to go out and raise some money and you wanted to, do it your way, you get to do that. And so I want to share an example. The NAMI out in Kansas had a woman who loved dresses, and she built like this like red carpet, uh, if you will, and she had it out on a farm, and they were sitting on bales of hay, and they had folks walking down, doing this little runway skit and stuff, and so it just sounded so neat. I'm like, that just sounds like fun, like drinking lemonade and laughing, and looking at all these pretty dresses and whatnot, and so. I mean, there's just so many ways to get creative with that fundraising platform. And then also another way to help on the financial side of things and also to become a member. It's not required, but it is really nice because then as members, you would be receiving emails, firsthand emails of what's going on in the organization. And also we're looking for members to join us and help with our newsletter. Um, we have an incredibly small team. So right now it's just myself, Jensen, who's actually here in the picture, and we have our Angela Albers, who is in our Wellness and Recovery Center, and she works part time. And then we have our billing specialist who's actually leaving us in December, and she works roughly about 4 hours a month. So there's a lot to run an organization, right? There's a lot that goes into this. And right now we're doing that with 3.5 people. So it can be really challenging. It can be really challenging. We're doing it. We're doing it, but it can be very challenging. So we really need all of these spaces to be filled with people that are passionate and that care and that have those specific gifts so they can serve in some capacity. Next slide, please. So obviously we're past walk, but I wanted to share this YouTube video that we share. This is from last year, but if you wouldn't mind, Amy, just clicking on that and sharing.
The beautiful thing about NAMI walks, the energy that's there, the collective energy. We bring thousands of people together to show that mental health matters, to show people that they're not alone. And it's just such a powerful, powerful thing to experience.
Wow, this is an amazing thing that we do to get the word out that health is there for all, and that includes mental health care.
It's such a joyful experience. We have the band playing and people dressed up in costumes, promoting our own self-care and the heroes among us as a community together. It lifts us all up. And that's why I walk.
Mental health affects everybody. Everybody out here has been affected, knows somebody who's been affected. Special shout out to everybody who has an I Walk For sign.
So why I walk in NAMI Walks is because it's a safe space for people like me, queer people, and I feel inspired. It feels like home.
I walk so we can continue raising funds to have these free support groups, free educational programs and classes.
There's a lot of stigma to women reaching out for help and mothers feeling like they can be supported. So I walk for all those moms out there.
I walk because I want the community to know that the stigma of mental illness in America needs to be done away with.
I walk because of my friends and my family that I have lost to suicide.
My family's been coming for a long time. We're mainly here to help bring awareness and stop the stigma regarding mental illness.
I walk for Tabitha, who was a frontline nurse who died by suicide. It feels amazing to be able to bring together my colleagues, my friends, with Tabitha's family, because it's so important for them to know how much we miss her.
We are excited about the partnership that we have with NAMI, and we are here to be able to support and help to reduce the stigma.
I walk to support my son, to create awareness. Being Latina, mental illness is not something that's talked about in our community.
It affects people of all age, and it's important to be around with the people that you love supporting something that's so important to all of us.
I live with a mental health condition, and this is my support group.
I live with schizophrenia, and I am NAMI Walks.
I am NAMI Walks.
I am NAMI Walks.
We are NAMI Walks! Mental health for all! Mental health for all!
Okay. I can never watch that video without getting like choked up. And I think it's even worse because we just came off of our walk, but it really is an incredible experience. And this year we didn't open it up to others to talk, but because that's always scary. A board member spoke, I spoke. Some of our board members one of our board members specifically lost her son due to the police taking his life when they were on a mental health call. And we have another board member that's on our board that has had a suicide attempt. In fact, has a video that's out on the Mary Greeley website. So Jeff Chrisman is his name. I would encourage you to check it out. There isn't one person that works for us or serves on our board that has not been touched in some way, in some form, with lived experience of losing someone. Maybe it was themselves that attempted a suicide. We all come with a story. And so, again, I just can't emphasize how important it is to, get the Ames community, right, specifically, and communities all around that we serve and beyond, to be able to come and participate on the day that we have the walk. So, all right. So if you want to share that again, Amy, we can move on to the next slide quick. All right, thank you. So just a small breakdown of what we are currently offering for our programs and support groups. We obviously have the Wellness and Recovery Center. The Wellness and Recovery Center is open and Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesday, Thursdays. We are closed on Friday. And that is a place for folks to come and just drop in. If they are struggling, they can come in. If they are houseless, they can come in. If they need to talk to our peer support specialist to help them find a job, help them, get back on food stamps or Medicaid. If they just need somebody to talk to, if they need resources, anything that they need, they can come in and work with our staff, and they will support them until they feel they have everything that they need to kind of get back on their feet. It doesn't cost anything to come to the Wellness and Recovery Center. And so we really do encourage folks to share this out and to share that this is here. Our peer support program is something that we have grown over the last 2 years exponentially, actually. And our dream is to be able to have enough money to push this program out mobily so that we have take our van and we just go places and we just go where people are. Because if there's one thing that I know to be true in my whole entire career, is that not everybody's going to come to us. We have to go to them, right? We have to get out there and be out there. We got to be by those bridges. We got to be at the subway that they're sitting at all day when they have nowhere else to go because they have to leave the shelters and things like that. So, as much as I like to, say like they're coming in, they're not always doing that. And when they do end up coming in, they're in such crisis that it can be really difficult to get them back down, to that plateau where they feel good. So sometimes it's just being in the ERs, right? Just walking through, being there, and I've sat in the ER one time when I was not feeling well myself, and I've administered to people sitting in the ER that had nowhere else to go. Um, so we also have, like I said, our classes. So in our own voice presentation, that is one that Jeff and I do a lot together. We share our stories with folks and with youth. Domestic violence survivors is another piece that I do. Ending the silence presentations. We currently do not have anyone besides myself to do that. And so we're needing someone to do that. That is where we're going into schools and we're offering the end of silence presentation. We need a young adult. And so the age cap off for young adult is 32, I believe. And then our family to family, our peer to peer, and then our peer support services, they do have to be trained and certified through the state of Iowa is a new requirement. So it used to be you just had to be trained for a week. Excuse me, now you have to be certified through the state. So there's supervisory hours that go into that and whatnot. These folks are not licensed clinicians. And if they are, they don't operate under their licensure. They're operating under lived experience. And the Wellness and Recovery Action Plan seminar. So this, I will tell you, is incredible. So WRAP stands for the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. And what that means is that if any of you were to come in and let's just say that, your husband or your wife passed away or your loved one had passed away and you are beside yourself, you don't know what you can do, you seem to not be able to move forward. This builds out things like people to contact when you're not doing well and whatnot, and you can carry it with you, and it's forever changing and it's yours. Let's say that you're someone that suffered from a domestic violence situation, and you're now having suicidal ideations. We can create that plan off of what you want. And let's just say that certain people aren't your safe spaces, right? So like for me, my mom is not my safe space. And so I would definitely not want any of you calling my mom if you were my contact person when I'm not doing well. I need you to call somebody else. And so it's really detailed and it outlines all of that. And my dream for this is that we get wellness and recovery action plans in all the hands of folks that we can. And then we let the police know, like, hey, if you are going to them, ask them about the Wellness and Recovery Action Plan. If our crisis intervention folks are going, and responding to something, ask them about that, right? Because if they've taken the time to do it, they're going to probably carry it with them, right? Or they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And a lot of times what happens is that when you've spent that time to work on that wellness and recovery action plan, you trust that person that you did that with, right? So maybe in that moment when, they're just like, I don't want you to call my person that's on there. Like, I'd rather talk to Roxanne, then you can get in contact with me. And hopefully I can be a support to that person, whether that's via phone or until I got there or whatever the case may be. But because connection really does matter. A lot of our folks have severe trauma and anxiety, and they don't trust people, right? And so those very few people that they hold dear to them, that they know, like, hey, this is my safe person. We got to make sure we have those people a part of these action plans. Next slide, please. All right. So that concludes the presentation. And so I just want to open it up for questions. Um, and please ask anything. I'm kind of an open book. And we can kind of turn this into a conversation too as well.
Sorry, I just stopped sharing because I couldn't see anyone anymore. But I have some questions.
Okay.
Could you talk a little bit more about the family to family class? Like, what does that entail, or who is it for?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's for any parent. So whether they're foster parents or let's just say that they've taken in a child that maybe isn't biologically theirs, or for our parents that have children that have a mental health diagnosis, or maybe they've been incarcerated a lot, maybe haven't had a mental health diagnosis. What that class is designed to do is to give some information on how to navigate the system, um, and help support them and give them resources. A lot of people think we all just know where to go and what to do, but unless you're in behavioral health, people aren't out there looking that stuff up, right? I mean, they're just not doing that. And so that's what that class is designed to do. But it also creates a space where families can come together and just meet each other, right? So we call that facilitation for a reason, because what happens is that the families start to integrate and they start talking and they get an opportunity to share. So I'll give you some examples on some of the classes that I've taught. We've had some moms come in that their children had various mental health conditions, but they were able to connect, right? Because some of the way they navigated the system, maybe somebody has been navigating it a really long time, and they really know it, right? So then now that person has become a connection and a resource for this other parent. One of the things I will tell you that has been requested for some time now, is folks, like if their kids had schizophrenia specifically, it is very different than anxiety and depression, right? And so we have had requests from parents that, I don't really want to come to a group where we're just talking about schizophrenia, or we're just talking about this. So and some of them want it to be just that. They want, like, this is what I'm experiencing. I don't want to talk about anxiety or bipolar, or manic and episodes and things like that. And so what's really neat about our curriculum is that we can create things and make them universal and still be doing things to fidelity. So
Do you have any resources for a family who has lost a child to suicide?
yes, yes, we have several resources. Absolutely. We actually, anytime we do a event, we have those resources out on our table. Each year when we get invited to do these school events, we really push getting all of that information out to the educators, the administrators, and to our families. And this year, one of the really neat things that we did, I was able to get us a grant so that we could do calm kits for our youth. Because a lot of kids that are neurodivergent, they need little things to play with, and little fidgets and stuff. And so this year, we gave away over 500 call kits, and in 3 events. So 2 were churches, and one was the Nevada school district puts a thing together every year. And so I was so excited that we didn't really have any left. Yeah, so that was super exciting. And then there was a little saying in there, and I can't remember verbatim what it said, but it was a little note to these kids, just like to let them know you're not alone, right? And it was, I think it was like a little hug. It's like a hug card that we did. And so it was very similar to what we give. It was very similar to what we give folks that request materials and things at funerals of loved ones that have taken their lives. We have this thing called pocket hugs that we give out. So then that way families can be reminded that not Central Iowa is a resource. That they're not alone and that we really are just truly a phone call away. And because we do serve such a large area, myself and Jensen actually dispatch ourselves out to those folks if they want us there at the funerals or at the viewings, to be able to be supports for people. We do that. We didn't do that before, but that's something we recognize as a need, because again, a lot of people really view suicide as being selfish. That is it's a true mentality. And so, and as anyone, when someone passes that way, I mean, you're always left with a why. You're always left with what could I have done? Could I have seen things? And so, some families that request us, some families are like, I don't want to see any of that stuff, right? Because they're just not ready for that, and that's okay. And then there are some are just like, I want all of the resources that you have, and then now I want to get involved and all of that. And so, there's just, yeah, it definitely can be a butterfly effect once we've done one and we continue, yeah, to do those. But yes, we are, if I would say one thing about NAMI Central Iowa and NAMIs in general, we are very resource rich, very resource rich. Any other questions?
Yeah, just since Amy's recording and some folks may be watching this from our churches later, just curious if you have some advice or what would you like churches to know or do that maybe could be particularly helpful in a church context for folks?
Yeah. I think just attending things like this lunch and learn, right? Opening up the dialogue and the conversation, becoming educated on the various diagnoses that are out there, and understanding what it is, kind of where it comes from inside the brain, and how churches can administer to that without compromising your beliefs, right? And being able to serve everyone. um, I always say we serve people just like Christ did, right? We love just as like Jesus does. And so when you're the hands and feet of Jesus, it doesn't matter. And nothing else matters. We just look at the human. And so I really believe wholeheartedly that churches are really there to work with other entities to fill a gap, right? Behavioral health professionals are not asking the churches to necessarily administer that care. However, a lot of those of us, such as myself, that's where I seeked out my healing and my restoration. But that's not where everybody needs to go, right? And so we have to honor that and we have to recognize that not everybody is there. But I think that there is a huge opportunity for churches to work with organizations such as ourselves, and other behavioral health professionals, just to be able to gather because folks are coming, right? And it's okay. Like, you have a specialty, right? You're there to teach the word of God. And not everybody wants to hear that, but they just want to feel safe, right? And so you're like, okay, if that's not where you're not ready to go there, and that's fine, then you could call NAMI and be like, hey, we have someone here. Can you come out, Roxanne, and meet with them or whatnot? Because I've done that before in Ames. I've actually gone to churches and sat with people. And I know that every congregation is very different in how they manage those things. You have some people in the congregation like, no, I'm taking this class, I'm doing all these things. They're very involved in that. And then there's some congregations where like, okay, I really think this might best, be if we refer this person on to, someone with peer support experience, and whatnot. I think also too, what would be really helpful is if we had folks from the church that learned more about, we have a faith net program. We need people to help us with that program as well. And it's something that's very new. I'm still learning about it, but it really just talks about filling that gap between, the citizens and the churches. So I just believe that there's a huge opportunity there.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? I will actually share a few questions that come up. I actually just did a presentation in church about a month ago, and some of the questions were, well, what do you do when you have a loved one that doesn't think that they need help? That's a frequently asked question, right? And so what I always do is I go to my own personal story. And so how I answer that is this is one, I don't give advice. I am a come alongside, right? So always coming alongside. And my story, part of my story is I was married to someone who struggled with addiction and was also abusive. And so I know firsthand what it looks like to watch someone that you love, and that you're married to, and that you care about, that you have children with, who starts to behave in a different way, right? And just continuously is separated from themselves, right? Because that's what addiction does, and that's what mental health can do, if we aren't able to connect, to catch that in time. And but also it's not easy. I mean, I always tell people I'm a realist. And it's not easy. It's not easy to continue to put your love forward when you're being hurt, right? Because our initial reaction is when we're hurt, we pull away. We're not moving towards it, right? If we're gonna go put our hand on a hot stove, we're not gonna be like, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, that's fun. No, we're gonna pull that away. And so it's hard. It's really, really hard. However, you know, um, this we can't save people from themselves. We can love on them, we can guide them, we can support them, we can give them all the resources, right? But there's a very small percentage that sometimes we just can't reach. And I think that's what is really, really difficult when you're in positions like that, because when you love somebody, you just want to make it better, right? I know I did. I just wanted to make it better. I just wanted my husband back. I just wanted him to be whole and well because I could see him. I saw his potential. I knew his heart. And the person that was being demonstrated in front of me as time went on was not my husband, right? So that's just a question we get a lot. And that's really my answer to that. It really is case by case. But that is something I learned. And I think the other piece too is that as hard as it is to love, and we ended up in a divorce and everything. Um, and as hard as it is to love, though, one of the things is we have to remember is that those individuals that are experiencing that, they don't want that. You know, they don't want that for themselves. They don't want that for us, the people that they love. Um, They really don't, and then they just start beating themselves up worse and worse and worse, and then, that's where they end up sometimes is in that place of hopelessness. I always use this analogy, when I was doing substance abuse, we had these pictures that we would show folks and our families when we were doing education in groups, and I always say, imagine, a bottle and you're down at the bottom of the bottle and there's no steps right to get out, so like there's no like family or loved ones or resources, if you will, to be able to help them climb out of that, and so they're just stuck down here, right? Everybody needs somebody everybody needs somebody, and sometimes family are not the people. Sometimes it's not, and that's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow too, right? Sometimes it is someone from the church. Sometimes it is someone from AA. Sometimes they have to go to jail quite frequently. Sometimes they have to go. They say that people don't get sober until after the seventh treatment that they've received, inpatient treatment, right? Um, and I'm here to tell you that I am now 50. I've been divorced from my husband, ex-husband, for well over 20 years. And he's 7 years sober. He's 7 years sober, right? So, and I'm going to tell you, I never thought I'd ever see that day. I thought my son would never see that day. And so we can't lose hope, because if we lose hope as loved ones, then, how are we instilling it in them? Right? We gotta remain hopeful. And it's hard, but it can be done. It can be done. So. Any other questions or comments, conversations?
I was gonna say if there were any resources we can share on our website or our platform, I'd be more than happy to do that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're in Ames, Amy, let's connect.
okay.
And I can also send you some attachments and things like that um, to share as well. But yes, we definitely want to get our literature out there and spread the word, that
Yeah.
we do need folks to be able to come and help support us and getting trained in these classes to be able to support folks because they don't have to happen in the wellness center, right? Like if somebody's really passionate and they go to the library every week and they get trained to become a facilitator, they can do that at a library. If you can do it at the church. I mean, really, it's about just meeting people where they are. Um, and getting folks to come. A lot of time churches will assess the needs in their community, and we help them with that as well. And every community is different. We serve a lot of rural areas, and so it just looks really different in certain areas. So, but yes, I will. Today, I will definitely get you some of those out, and then I'll also get you some stuff in person um, as well. So, yeah, for
Yeah, I was
sure.
gonna say if you have contacts for some of the other districts, because the diocese covers the whole state. So if you've got contacts we can share with some of the surrounding churches, that'd be cool too.
Yes, absolutely. And it's really important to know too, just to share with you, that every NAMI affiliate does things a little differently, right? And what I mean by that is that we all offer uh, different types of programming. So we may offer more programming than others, or maybe someone, like NAMI Dubuque is a really good example. They have a wellness and recovery center, and they actually have a jail program, right? We don't have that yet. Um, and like NAMI Johnson County is another one. They have a wellness and recovery center, and then NAMI Central Iowa. There's only 3 NAMIs out of the 14 that actually have active wellness and recovery centers in the state. So yeah, so just know that we all use the same platform, obviously, but we aren't created as equal, right? Even our state office offers different programming than maybe what we would offer. So, but yeah, I'd be happy to get you those contacts as well. Yeah, for sure.
Great.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for coming, and giving your time today. I always say that you could be somewhere else, and you chose to give your time to me and to Amy and to NAMI, and I just really appreciate that because you guys are the liaisons, right? Like you are the voices out there. You've just received this. And so my hope is that you'll go out and share that and spark those conversations. And then hopefully, get that butterfly effect going in a positive way where people are like, hey, we need to go talk with Roxanne and do a presentation so we can learn more. And I also do want to share that if you want to focus on something specific in the future, a specific mental health diagnosis, we can always dive into that as well. There's so much that I can give in presentations. And so I'll make sure I get that stuff in the hands of Amy and whatnot. So, but thank you so very much.